Everybody, welcome back. Happy New Year. Today we're going to take a look at an Alpha Magnetics model 2010 adjustable power supply. As you can see on the front, it'll do 0 to 20 volts DC at 5 amps, 0 to 25 volts AC at 5 amps. It has a DC amp meter on the front. And if we take a look around the back, it has an adjustable 0 to 115 volts AC at 1 3/4 amps utility outlet in the back. It's got a 2 amp fuse, standard US house current. It's got a plug that's attached. It was $30, brand new. So I figured, why not? Let's take a shot, have a look at it. As you'll see in a bit, it's a little bit of an odd beast because the DC output appears to be unfiltered. That's right, so it is not very smooth DC. It is basically just rectified. On-off switch, just the power. There is no voltmeter on this model. There is another model, I think it's a 2011 or something, or a 2020, that does have a voltmeter on it as well, but this one didn't. First things first, it's a power supply. Let's take a look at the output voltage that we get. We'll go to DC first. And as we increase it, it actually goes, it hits 32 volts on the 0 to 20 volt range. So far so good. I'm going to drop this back down, and if we look down here, we're at 12 volts. You can already see that it's not very steady. Keeps fluctuating, and if we drop this down here around just under 2 volts, you can see a better idea. It's just kind of fluctuating all over the place. If we take a look at the AC, AC looks good. This goes up to about the same. Goes up to about 30 volts AC. Again, if we bring this down to a lower range, it's also a little all over the place. I'm not going to look at the accessory outlet on the back. So let's take a look as far as the amps coming out of it. I'll turn this down. I've got a big old cheap rheostat here. This is 10 ohms wire wound. I'm just going to put it across the full 10 ohms. And as we turn the voltage up. So this is about 20 volts into 10 ohms, 25 volts, and it's just about 2 amps. Not an exhaustive test, but the amp meter seems to be working. It's interesting, it's a 10, amp meter goes up to 10 amps. The power supply only will supply 5 amps. Would have been nice if they had something with a smaller range to be a little more accurate, but it's okay. I said this is a little bit of a strange beast. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pop it open and have a look inside. I mean, construction-wise, it seems to be pretty well constructed. It's a all-metal case. We're fused, it's grounded. This here is the rectifier for the DC. This, I believe, is the resistor that's used for the current. We have a big transformer in here. It just has, there's no center taps, it's just got a primary and a secondary. It says it's manufactured for this model power supply, 2000-2010. Looks like the manufacturer was 2002. Voltage is controlled, and the switch for the front panel there. There's what looks like a very super minimal amount of filtering on the DC output. We've got a 50 volt, I'm not sure how many microfarad capacitor that is. I'll look around on the other side in a second. And I think when I looked, I think that was a 300 ohm resistor. And the entire thing seems here to be controlled by a very small board with a single triac on it, which means it's dropping the voltage similar to the way that light dimmers do, which is switching the voltage on and off. Yeah, if I look on this side here, I still can't see what that is, but I mean, it's very cleanly laid out. I mean, everything is, the wires are nicely dressed, you know, no complaints with any of that. But like I said, now you'd usually expect to find some degree of filtering on the DC, and there is none on here, at least nothing worth writing home about. In terms of how this thing is wired up, secondary from the transformer here goes directly to the AC out. Those leads are connected to full bridge rectifier, and the rectified output comes over here to the DC out. Yellow and purple wires go here to the control board, so it is chopping up the current from the board here, feeding that into the transformer. The transformer is then stepping that down, which is, I'm sure, where we're getting our adjustable 0 to 115 volt out is coming directly off of that board, and the transformer doesn't come into play. That's it. That's the whole power supply. The fact that it's not filtered leads me to wonder exactly what its intended use is. It has binding posts, so it looks like it would be a lab type supply. Maybe it's more for an educational market. I mean, it's clearly intended for something that doesn't require filtered DC. So I'm going to stop talking for a minute. I'm going to go through and let you see what the AC and the DC output looks like on an oscilloscope. It's definitely just rectified, full bridge rectified DC. There's no smoothing or anything. So as you can see, the AC is what it is. I guess it's fine. Really wouldn't have a whole lot of use for that. I was really looking more for the DC part of it, and as you can see, the DC is quite spiky and noisy, and not sure what it would be best used for. maybe driving, I mean, incandescent lamps would be fine, maybe LEDs. In any case, I think if I want to use this, it definitely needs to be cleaned up. I mean, one thing I could do to clean it up a little bit is get rid of the triac circuit in the back and just drive it from my variac. It would make it no longer front panel adjustable. It would be just basically all I would be using is the transformer in it as a step down. I kind of don't want to do that because I like the idea of it just being a standalone power supply and not something that has to be tied to something else controlling the power. So for right now, this will probably go up on the shelf while I figure out what I want to do with it. Do some research about what I can do to smooth out the DC on it. But otherwise, you know, it's a nice looking power supply. It's, you know, it's well constructed. It just isn't quite fit for purpose at the moment. But we'll see what you can do about that. Can't really recommend you run out and buy one, because like I said, without having filtered DC on it, I mean, you're not going to put any kind of electronic stuff on it. So I don't know, you know, if you had some lights that you wanted to, 20 volt lights that you wanted to run off of it, I guess it would be fine. There's a lot better offerings out there for a benchtop power supply. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I'll see everyone later.